Another juicy conversation, my beautiful co-creators. Guess where I am today? I'm on the Juicy Living Tour in Key West in Florida, all the way at the tip of Florida. How cool.
You made it.
I made it all the way to see Angie Arkin, because I really enjoyed our conversation through Skype, and it's awesome to see you in person.
Oh, thank you. It's so good to see you in person. I feel like I know you.
Yeah, the energy is definitely flowing. It feels so good, because there's always some people where you resonate more or less with, and I really feel I resonate well with you. You have a very open and beautiful energy and embracing, and I love it. I love it. I'm so excited about this conversation.
Me too. Me too.
So you're an intuitive healer.
I am.
And you teach also meditations.
I do.
So tell us, first of all, what is an intuitive healer?
An intuitive healer, the best way I explain it to people is I reconnect you to your spirit. It's kind of like the hard drive to your computer. It holds all your information for all your lifetimes. And our bodies are like these little desktops, and we can only really hold so much, and then we need to clear things out and kind of reconnect. So I'm actually able to help you connect into your spirit, your main frame, and get your information from all your lifetimes, and then clear away any energy that might be kind of blocking that connection, and then also give you tools to work on it every day on your own when you're not, like when we're not doing a session. So a lot of people, you know, will do a session every once in a while, and then they really want to do their own work, which is wonderful. So that's the majority of what I do, and it's just so fun. It's so interesting, you know, just to see. I don't really remember the readings because I take the information and I store it for the person with their spirit. So I don't hold on to everybody's details, which is probably really good for me as a person to, you know.
Yeah, because that must be hard sometimes to deal with.
Yeah, you know, I see a lot of suffering. I know that I see a lot of suffering, because we all are suffering. But also there's so much beauty. There's so much beauty in people's connection to their own divinity, to their own spirit. And, you know, I think we basically all kind of have this language for it, but we don't talk about it a lot. I mean, higher self, spirit, divine self, divinity, enlightened part of you, it's all kind of the same thing. Yeah. You know, I say hard drive, it's sort of the same thing. It's like that's our big, the big piece of us that knows everything. So
would you say that the more we heal ourselves, then the more this divine part can shine out and really take the lead, I guess?
Absolutely. I think it's our job, actually, to download as much of our spirit as we can and to live it every day in these bodies, in our little spacesuits that we're in down here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how can we heal ourselves? What are some of the things? Because a lot of us face all the time limiting beliefs that come jumping right back at us, and that seems to block us from really fully blossoming and letting this divine part or the soul part do its work and fully blossom. So
it's a good question. I mean, I find so many people want to turn away from their problems. I mean, you know, me too, actually. It's not very fun to face a problem, but it's the idea of turning towards what's ailing you, turning towards your problem and looking at it, not running from it, not sticking your head in the sand, and sort of making friends with what's going on. You know, I have an array of clients that have, you know, issues ranging from relationship issues to, you know, health issues to money issues to addiction problems to suicidal tendencies, and you know, it's really all the same formula. It's turning towards the problem, looking at really the core of where it came from, and then kind of loving that part of yourself. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a lot of healing in the loving. I know it sounds very simple, but it's actually not, because in the sense of doing it, the doing of it, the turning towards it is really hard. Yeah, that's probably why people find people like me, because it's really hard to do by yourself.
So we have to dive in those fears, dive in those, and be with them.
Well, you know, I don't mean to say like just dive in and sit in your muck, because that's not fun. And nobody wants to do that. But I think there's a way to do it in a very gentle manner, like to, let's say, a problem in relationships. Maybe you feel like you're always picking the same person over and over and over. In different forms. So, you know, it would be really about looking at where that early belief came from. So I have a friend, for instance, that has a partner, and she's always saying, you know, he never shows up, he never shows up, he's just like everyone else I've ever been with. And so for her, it would be about really going back to that core belief that the men in her life don't show up. Yeah. And that probably takes us back to her childhood, where we can do a little bit of work back there on where that came from. Was it something she saw with her mom? Was it something she came into this world with? You know what I mean? It's,
Yeah.
It's different for every person, I guess, so it's kind of hard to give a formula for one, for everybody at a time, but I think we all kind of have the same route with it, where we need to turn towards it instead of away from it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it was really when those experience, either it was through our parents or ourselves, or somebody said something, and right there in that moment we decided to shut down and
could be,
and let go of a part of our soul, maybe, or because a lot of people that do soul retrieval too. So I guess it's part of our soul that comes back also once we're healed.
I think so. You know, I think of it like little pieces of lint on us. You know, we take the lint off one by one, and pretty soon we're clean and clear. Eventually, right? But yeah, I think we have these tapes that play in our head over and over and over and tell us the same thing, and so they become like best friends, and we start to believe them. Things like, well, money's really hard to come by, you know, or I can't ever have a partner that's really my equal, or you know, I'll never have a child. Things like that. Things that we just hear over and over and over. And those are the loops or the patterns that we get in, and I don't think people even know they're saying it to themselves, really. So it's really about listening, like deep listening to yourself, turning towards what you have wanted to avoid or resist, and then finding some tools to work with it. Like don't just sit in it, because that's going to be miserable. Like you have to have a tool, whatever works for you. Everybody's different. Yeah. But meditations are a good way, you know, visualizations are a good way, therapy is great, you know, intuitive healing is great, and anything that helps you, you know. Does that make sense? Yeah,
and the inner child, you're talking about how we can, the more we're in connection with that inner child in life, the more we have fun, first of all, and then the more we're in the flow.
Yes, I love doing work with our inner child. I just did a teaching called Reclaiming Your Inner Child, Who's at Your Core. And it was a really profound sharing for me, in the sense that about 5 years ago I was told by my doctor that I had uterine cancer. And you know, I said, no I don't, that doesn't feel right. And they said, we're 98% sure that you do and you need further testing. So, you know, I made an appointment for further testing, and in that 3-week period I had to wait 3 weeks for more testing, which was, you know, kind of painstaking. Yeah, all my shadow stuff came up, all my inner demons and worries and what ifs, you know. So I sat and did a really long meditation one day. I'll never forget it. It was about 2 hours in length. And I was guided back to my childhood, to these times where I had had a fairly tough go of it growing up. My mom was a severe alcoholic, and you know, everybody has tough childhoods. I was no different. I had a very difficult time, and I was guided to get each of those little parts of me, and there was probably like 200 at some point that I was just going back and making friends with and gathering back and saying, you know what, come home with me. I love you and I want you're part of me and I want you back. Yeah. So I had this whole process that I explained in the meditation of really integrating those small parts of me all the way back in. And what I've done in the meditation is I've made it bite-sized. So I've made it short. It's like 5 minutes. You could do it for longer.
Is it part of the CD or not?
It's not. It's on my teachings page on the website.
Okay.
So I've done.
This one is everyday energy.
Yes.
That's different.
That's different, yeah.
Something you can listen in the morning. And
yes, that has a way. That's all about like rebalancing your energy every day, like how to set your energy for the day.
And that's so important too.
It is. This is more about going back and really doing some healing on those core issues. Yeah. Because, you know, I did that incredible, meditation that day, and then eventually I went to the doctor and they said, there's no cancer. Why are you here? Huh. And I said, I think I know why I'm here. Mm-hmm. You know, I needed to go heal that part of me. And all those little children were kind of holding the key to that. I have a client who is addicted to prescription drugs. And I led her through this technique. And she was astounded to find out that her inner child, one age she was drawn to was 10 years old, and she found out that that little girl in her that she once was so lonely and sad, and it was that loneliness and sadness that kind of felt like a void, and her adult self was stuffing it full of pills, trying to kind of tamp it down. Yeah. So, you know, getting her inner child back and integrating was really quite profound for her. She still obviously has to work on her addiction, but she knows where it comes from now. so she can kind of turn towards it and make friends with it in a way that before she was just pushing it away and ignoring it.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by sticking your head in the sand and not facing something. Because if you don't have the tools to face it, you just run from it, you're scared.
Yeah, so love, compassion, giving that love is probably the best thing to do, huh?
Yeah, going back and getting those lost pieces of us, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. Yeah. That's our job.
Yeah, that's our job.
That's our job.
To live juicy life.
Yes. Well, to be a whole, balanced, energetic individual. And I don't really think we can do that if we don't gather up the lost pieces of us, That's, I really feel that we are our own responsibility. Think about it, like, we always want people to show up for us and be in a relationship and meet our needs. And, sometimes they can and sometimes they can't. Usually you're going to be the only person that can really do that for yourself to the degree that you want it done. Yeah. No matter how great your relationship is, I think that's a piece of it. So, we gotta do it ourselves.
I love it. And then how can we expand and really live that goal that we have? Really live that potential. How can we really live that?
I really am a firm believer in being connected to your spirit, like really connected. So you may say, well, that's great. How do I do that? Meditation is a great way because it quiets the mind. That's all meditation really is. It's simply quieting the mind so that we can listen to that other voice that we hear, that little sweet, soft, intuitive voice that's been there our whole lives, in all our lives. And the more we give it the microphone, the more we're going to hear it. Yeah. And the more we hear it, the more we can live it. And the more we live it, we're going to reach our potential and our goals a lot faster. We're not resisting.
So it's really, but we really need to be present again. It comes back to that.
Well, grounding's really important. That's on that CD actually. There's a whole bunch of stuff about really being in the present moment. And I think the idea for me, like the goal, is to be grounded in present time, right, with your grounding cord, and to also be connected to spirit. And then our bodies are like these little containers that just, as you would say, they hold the juice. Then we can live it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the juice can go higher or lower.
Yeah, it comes right out our heart and our throat.
But it's amazing how sometimes we feel so much in the juice and everything is clicking and there's this effortless flow and synchronicity, and then all of a sudden, boom, something happens and we're right back at it.
Oh yeah.
It brings us back to being humble again. Huh?
Yes. Ego trips us.
Oh yeah.
I know.
Oh, that little ego.
It happens to me too all the time, actually. I can see it for other people, but I'm human too, and I have my stuff. But it's great because it actually helps me make more techniques up for people because I go through my own traumas,
Yeah, it's good to recognize that.
Yeah.
So, and how can we on our own develop more our intuition? What would you say?
How can we
own our intuition? I guess own our intuition and develop our intuition.
Yeah. The best way is to really, at least the best way I've understood, is to really get to know the difference in the voices, because we hear from our analyzer all the time.
Oh yeah.
Look out, watch both ways in traffic, don't spend too much money, this person could be harmful, how about let's go over here, it's just constantly giving us signals all the time. And I find our analyzers can be a little fear-based, there's a difference. Our intuition is a very different voice. It's very simple and plain. It's usually compassionate. I've never seen someone's intuition, because your intuition comes straight from your spirit. So I've never seen someone's intuition be anything but compassionate. In traffic, for instance, if you're driving, somebody may cut you off, and your mind, your analyzer may think, okay, that jerk, I'm gonna speed up and I'm gonna ride that person and I'm gonna show him what it feels like, And your intuition, your spirit would say, maybe he's going somewhere really important and I'm going to let him go. Or maybe he's having a bad day and he's expecting everybody to be mean to him because that's what's happening. So I'm not going to produce that for him. I'm going to be kind. And maybe that'll help. That's a big difference, yeah.
How did you get to this place in life? What's your story?
How long do we have? I was working as a massage therapist in San Francisco when I was about 28, and it seemed like the minute I started touching people, I would hear from their bodies. Whatever part I was touching would start talking to me. I know it sounds crazy, but I'll never forget, I was doing a massage on somebody's left shoulder. They were laying face down, and I had my hands on her, and I heard her shoulder say, I was abused when I was 12. And so I said, oh, out loud, I just blurted it out. I said, oh my gosh, you were abused when you were 12, I'm so sorry. She turned and looked at me and said, I have never told anybody that. How do you know that? And I was like, I don't know. It's stuck in your shoulder. I'm really sorry. And then it was then that I thought, okay, I'm getting information that I don't really know what to do with, and I have a responsibility to know. So I sought out teachers to help me learn some filters and some techniques to develop my psychic awareness. And that's when I got on the path. You know, looking back, I had known things my whole life. From when I was really young. I used to talk. I used to lock the door to my bedroom, and I would talk to the wisdom beings. Like, I could see them and talk to them. And at one point, my mom was like, "What are you doing in your room talking by yourself? Get outside and play. You know, that's weird." And so I realized nobody else was acting that way, and I would try to be normal, but, you know, I kept hearing from these beings my whole life, and I'd try to kind of push it away, because I didn't know what was going on until I got to be 28, and then I sought out, you know, some teachers and developed.
Because sometimes it seems like our imagination too is a big part of that. So sometimes is it difficult to find what's in the imaginary world and what's really in the world of spirited beings and non-physical.
Great question. Especially in the beginning, it can really seem like it's you're making it up. And in fact, a lot of people that I teach, I'll say, you know, listen to your intuition, and I'll guide them in a meditation technique of how to get back into that part of their head so they can have a conversation. And, you know, a common problem is, I just think I'm making that up. And that's why I say it's so very important to really be diligent about the meditations and learning the difference in the voices, because everybody's analyzer sounds a certain way to them, and everybody's intuition sounds a different way. So it's going to be very different. I mean, think about how often have you, like, parked somewhere and you thought, well, it's illegal to park here, but I'll just be a minute. You know, you go in, you come out, there's a ticket. And maybe on the way in you heard, I don't know if it's okay if I do this. But so that's the intuition's trying to come through. Or, I don't know if I want to go to that party tonight, you know, and your mind may think, oh, come on, and the imagination thinks, stop imagining things. But the intuition says, I don't think I want to do that, you know? And you go to the party and it was terrible, and you think, why didn't I listen to myself? I mean, we've all had that happen. So that's our intuition. I find that it's a soft kind of voice, and it's real little at first because we just haven't been giving it the microphone enough. But once you start doing that, you're going to hear all the time. It's a part of you that's been wanting to connect. It's your spirit, and it wants to connect to you. And all I do in readings really is connect in with the person's spirit. And I'll tell them things, and they'll say, I know. And I'll say, I know you know, because you just told me that. So why aren't you living it? You know what I mean? And the reasons are, well, you know, we all have our shadow stuff. And that's what we're down here to work through. You know, those difficult pieces of our ego. Mostly it's ego-identified, you know, demons. I would call them like little shadow parts.
It was funny when you told me to have a little bear as a guide last time.
I
was like, oh, you have a little bear above your shoulder. Oh, really? Oh, he's really playful. Is he still here?
He is off in the distance, actually.
That little bear. That made me laugh.
I know.
Just when I'm too serious, I think about that little bear. So there's spirits around us?
There are spirit guides and wisdom beings everywhere. At least I see them everywhere. Every person, you know, has a spirit, and we have guides that, you know, have karmic links to us that are willing to help us. And then there is this pantheon of wisdom beings to help as well. So
angels are part of that?
Angels are part of that. They have a specific vibrational frequency. They're so sweet. Really sweet angels. Yeah.
They're good.
They're very good.
And we could call them, right?
You can call them. There are people that just do. I think you had done an interview with someone that did angel readings or something.
Yes. Doreen, no, not Doreen Virtue, actually. That's Kim Maroney, in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, so definitely angels are very, you know, I kind of lump them all together in the term wisdom beings just because it's a little easier for me than getting too specific. But yeah, they're there, and they're so willing to help. I had a client recently who wanted to know a lot about the wisdom beings. And so I said, oh, well, let me look. Nobody ever asks me that. That's great. So I was talking to the wisdom beings, and he was asking, is there anything that we need to do, that I need to do more of, or how can I pay you back? And they said, pay us back by loving yourself more. And he was asking, are you available? And they said, at all times. He said, how many of you are there? And they said, too many to count, you know. And we went on and on like this for about 25 minutes at the end of the reading. And then when we finished the reading, just up by the picture on that wall right there, there was this whole, it was going to sound crazy, but it was multicolored little round dots of light in all different colors, blues, pinks. I took a picture of it with my iPhone, and it actually came out.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's just sort of
Cool.
hanging there in space. I was like, oh my gosh, you should see the wall. And it felt like them sort of saying, here we are, we're really here, you know, we really want to help.
Yeah.
So we have so much help available.
Yes.
We do, you know, and it's amazing. Like we were talking before, and you were saying, you know, you're on this path of manifesting and you're doing your work. And I'm sure that you've noticed all the support that shows up when you start doing your work.
Yeah.
And then when you're not doing your work, all the resistance that shows up.
Yeah.
So it's really just a choice.
And the more our heart is open, it seems like the more we have even more so support and see it and are willing to see it, because it is really there all the time, isn't it?
All the time. Our spirit.
It's not like we're cut off. We cut ourselves off.
Right. We cut ourselves off through our karma and through our belief systems, which come from our karma. But, you know, we really do. We cut ourselves off. And I find so much that when I have a teaching on compassion, and it's called Fierce Compassion, because I did it for people who are having discrepancies with one another. So the first part is to send yourself compassion, and there's a whole meditation with that. And that gets people very much in the mood to give, because usually we don't want to give to someone else, especially if they're being mean to us, because we don't think we have enough for us. Do you know? It's like we think that money is finite, but actually it's infinite. And energy is the same way. Money's only energy, and compassion is energy, and there's plenty of it. But we have to first give it to ourselves, hold it in our heart, and then we can give it out. And if you're having like a fight with somebody or something, it's really hard to offer them compassion because you're mad and you don't want to get hurt. But what's really going to hurt you is not being a compassionate being. You know, believe me, I get mad too. We all do. But it's a great technique for that. And so I really think it's about downloading that information from spirit, holding it in our hearts, and living it, like, you know, offering it out.
Beautiful. What a great time spent with you. Is there another thing, something else that you feel that is important, or you feel intuitively that is important to say to anybody listening, watching?
Just, I think, to really love all parts of yourself as much as you can. I think we're so hard on ourselves, and the voices in our head when we're mean to ourselves are more damaging than anyone could ever be to us. And so I believe it's actually our responsibility to learn how to love all parts of ourselves, and that's the only job you're down here to do. And if you want to be a fireman or a lawyer or an intuitive healer, or, you know, an interviewer or a cameraman, you know, that's great, but that's not just why you're here. Yeah. Thank you. And you, good luck with your manifesting of your tour, and
thank you.
Continue on. I thank you for giving all of us a chance to say, you know, what we're doing in the world. It's a beautiful gift you're offering.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, my beautiful co-creators, much love from Juicy KeyWest. You have to check this place out, by the way. It's really awesome little town. I love the energy is fun. There's quite a lot of tourists, but there's something, and there's a little vibration here going on.
Yeah, there is.
90 miles from Cuba.
We're right there.
The weather is beautiful too in winter. Anyway, much love.
reconnect you to your spirit. It's kind of like the hard drive to your computer. It holds all your information for all your lifetimes. And our bodies are like these little desktops, and we can only really hold so much, and then we need to clear things out and kind of reconnect. Yeah. So I'm actually able to help you connect into your spirit, your mainframe, and get your information from all your lifetimes, and then clear away any energy that might be kind of blocking that connection, and then also give you tools to work on it every day on your own when you're not, like when we're not doing a session. So a lot of people, you know, will do a session every once in a while, and then they really want to do their own work, which is wonderful. So that's the majority of what I do, and it's just so fun. It's so interesting, you know, just to see. I don't really remember the readings because I take the information and I store it for the person with their spirit. So I don't hold on to everybody's details, which is probably really good for me as a person to, you know. Yeah,
because that must be hard sometimes to deal with.
Yeah, you know, I see a lot of suffering. I know that I see a lot of suffering because we all are suffering. But also there's so much beauty. There's so much beauty in people's connection to their own divinity, to their own spirit. And, you know, I think we basically all kind of have this language for it, but we don't talk about it a lot. I mean, higher self, spirit, divine self, divinity, enlightened part of you, it's all kind of the same thing. Yeah. You know, I say hard drive, it's sort of the same thing. It's like, that's our person. Oh, thank you. It's so good to see you in person. I feel like I know you.
Yeah, the energy is definitely flowing. It feels so good because there's always some people where you resonate more or less with, and I really feel I resonate well with you. You have a very open and beautiful energy and embracing, and I love it. I love it. I'm so excited about this conversation.
Me too. Me too.
So you're an intuitive healer.
I am.
And you teach also meditations.
I do.
So tell us, first of all, what is an intuitive healer?
An intuitive healer, the best way I explain it to people is
Another juicy conversation, my beautiful co-creators. Guess where I am today? I'm on the Juicy Living Tour in Key West in Florida, all the way at the tip of Florida. How cool.
You made it.
I made it all the way to see Angie Arkin, because I really enjoyed our conversation through Skype, and it's awesome to see you in